SCCA's National Championship Runoffs has long been a launching pad to professional careers for some, an annual pilgrimage for many, and a bucket list event just to compete in for all. This weekend, it is also a test extraordinaire, as for the contenders, Sonoma Raceway awaits.
Welcome to Sonoma Raceway for the 55th running of the SCCA Club Racing National Championship Runoffs. And what a beautiful day for racing. We're going to bring you the action of T1. I'm Larry McLeod here with Hayward Wagner. We've got Tom O'Gorman down on the grid and in the pits later on. And what a show we're going to have today, Hayward, as this field has got names, it's got cars, it's got history, and it's got new cars. Hayward, what are we going to be looking for?
Larry, this is going to be a barn burner. We've got a front row that is full of all of the circumstance and drama you could hope for in road racing. Andrew Aquilante, the proverbial Goliath of this class. He's won a number of national championships here. And then we've got the David and Kip Olson and that NSX outside the front row. Very different cars, very different driving styles. Those guys are going to put on a heck of a show. And then we've got another 15 cars in this field, 17 rounding out Touring 1.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing fight, and really a couple of big names there and some incredible cars, some big back teams as well playing a part of this. Down on the grid lane there, we've got our TCA World Challenge champion, Tom O'Gorman down there. Tom, what do we have? Do we have our tire rack pole sitter?
We do, yeah. Hey, guys, how you doing? We have just a quick look at the field, and you guys already mentioned it. Some differences in these cars. This is the fastest of the touring category cars. Behind me here, the pole sitter of Andrew Aquilante, Mark Bowden's car right here. These are much newer cars. They have high performance from the factory. They don't get a huge amount of modification here for Touring 1. Then if I step to the side here, we have Kip Olson's Acura NSX. And then over here, we have the Turbo MX-5 of Hayes. These cars, they have lower performance from the factory. They get much more performance modification for Touring 1. But if you look at those qualifying sheets, it works really, really well. This will be a really interesting race.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I think you're right. Interesting race because you've got the very different types of cars all at the front, a lot of experience in drivers. There's a couple of cars that don't have a lot of experience in the car themselves, very few laps and days in a couple of them. So, Hayward, you've been down here talking to these guys all week long. Tell me a little bit about these cars.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You have, as Tomo mentioned, you kind of have two formulas. You have the lower displacement, older cars that are allowed to bring in some forced induction. Both the NSX and the MX-5 are turbocharged. The T1 rules allows for a very specific turbo to go on those cars to bring them up to speed in the class. And then you have the more modern cars, Aquilante and Bowden and others, cars that came from the factory with V8 performance, able to much lighter in modifications there. But the other story between Aquilante, Bowden, and then Hayes and Olson is the number of runoff starts. You have Andrew Aquilante with 11 years of runoff experiences, but that combines 19 starts. Mark Bowden has 27 starts in the runoffs. Then you look at Hayes and you look at Olson, each of those only with 2 starts, and neither one of them have started the runoffs before in Touring 1. Both of them ran at the WeatherTech Raceway runoffs about 4 years ago. But Hayes was running in Spec Miata then, and Hayes was in Spec Miata, and Olson ran that race. Here actually was in T1 there. Qualified 4th in that race. So there's going to be the guys who really, really know this track, that live here, that grew up here, that love this track, know it so well, and then the racecraft that the people who have many, many starts at the runoffs bring to this.
Yeah, so you mentioned about Hayes. He's got 2 previous starts here at the runoffs at a couple of different tracks. However, that car does not even have 1 race start under its belt. What do you know a little bit about that Miata?
So Hayes actually qualified really well on the first day. He was second quickest on the first day in the MX-5 and then missed the second day because they just didn't really love what they were seeing with the engine. They did an engine swap during the second day, came back on the third day to put that car 4th on the grid. He's a local guy. He's from Walnut Creek. He knows this track. He's done some instructing here. Very, very comfortable on this racetrack. When we talked to him, though, he didn't seem real comfortable with this event. There was a lot of moving parts, a lot going on. I think he's super happy to be where he is on the grid. But yeah, that car, if you get a chance to look at it up close and personal, that is a real race car. Yeah,
That's a real race car that's been together in its whole pieces there for about 2 weeks, and it's amazing to have him out here. And then because he is local, he's got a shop very close by, able to get that repaired and engine swapped. Amazing here in the middle between a qualifying day 1 to qualifying day 3, and then to be able to put it up into 4th. Just an amazing drive. Another one, what you mentioned about some of the locals with the knowledge, maybe like Hayes. What about Mark Bowden sitting there right now on the inside of row 2? He's in that BMW. But he's come across all the way from Illinois. Tell me a little bit about Bowden here as he has these other bigger cars in front of him.
So Bowden's got about 27 runoff starts. He's been on the podium nearly a dozen times. He's one of the guys that comes to the runoffs with multiple cars, runs in multiple classes, and that gives him a lot of looks at the racetrack during the week. So he may have, where most drivers will have one 20-minute qualifying session over the course of a day, Bowden might be on track 3 or 4 times. This year it's 3. He's running in 3 classes. And so all the data that he gathers from all of those different sessions all kind of piled together for them to be able to set up the car. He's also the point person in Fall Line Motorsports, which has come to be one of the best prep shops in road racing. And so I think Bowden, this is the second quickest car he'll drive. The GT2 car is a little bit quicker, but he had that race earlier today, so he and Aquilani both. So both of them had some time on track, and now they get to take another shot at it.
So we have a couple of guys in this field you mentioned already. Bowden is in 3 different classes this week. One of the other guys is our pole sitter, Andrew Aquilante. That we saw him in the GT2 race. Little trouble there. Mechanically, the transmission didn't quite hold up for him. But Aquilante, I have a feeling that this is the race that he really feels he's got his best shot to get another championship. Have you had a chance to talk to Andrew this week?
Yeah, I get to talk to Andrew quite a bit. I really enjoy conversations with Andrew. He's a very dynamic personality. And we'll talk a lot about him in the race. Interestingly, though, I think Andrew is not feeling a tremendous amount of confidence in this race. In the history books, he absolutely is recognizable as a Goliath of the sport. 8 championships in just the last 11 years. And only at 31 years of age, he has an opportunity to rewrite a lot of records in the SCCA record book. But that NSX that's second on the grid, that car, there were some compliance questions about that car earlier in the week. They took a look at it on Wednesday. They found a couple of things to be out of compliance. The car's times from its quick day of qualifying were disallowed, and it's now second on the grid. But the fastest lap turned by any of these cars on track is Olsen in the NSX. So Aquilante feels like he might be at a little bit of disadvantage, particularly, as we've talked about a lot this week, the surface of the track does not have a lot of traction available. When you look at these 2 cars, the first thing that probably jumps out, the difference between them, is the aero. You can see as the NSX is rolling off the grid, that nice fat wing on the back of it to help keep the back end of the car planted. As the grip condition goes down, the importance of aero, which some of these cars do have, others do not, Aquilante does not, could become a significant differentiator.
Yeah, I think you're right. This will be an interesting battle to play out as you've got the big V8 front engine of the Corvette of Aquilante and then Kip Olsen there in that mid-engine NSX with that aero, as you mentioned. That's going to be an interesting turn 1 as they go into there. And Aquilante, a couple of these guys, they were on the track even earlier today in other races. They kind of know what the track is. They're very experienced racers. They know where to go into that first turn. I'll be interested to see which side they line up on. There's an option. Pole sitter gets to choose. You want to be on left or right. And this is one of those tracks where you could be on the left or the inside of 1, which is that sweeping uphill. I'm going to put you on the outside of 2.
We've seen pole sitters choose each, and we've seen pole sitters be very right, and we've seen pole sitters be very wrong. And Andrew, there is not a prep shop at this track that is more savvy than Phoenix Performance, and I am certain that they have made a very calculated decisions, not only based on Andrew's preference, but based on what they think the Acura will be best at, and making sure that they're putting the cards in their favor as best they can.
Sure, they're going to be led around by a car that probably should be in this field, that beautiful Trans Am prepped, about 1,000 horsepower in that car as they lead them around up the straight up into 7. That car has been roaring around here about 4 days. I think it's the loudest thing on site. I haven't seen them do a sound check because I'm not sure he'd pass.
It rattles the windows in the tower every time it goes by. It's a beautiful car, and just have to thank Trans Am Worldwide for giving SCCA the opportunity to use that vehicle here at the Runoffs.
Yep, and there you see Andrew Aquilante, our Tire Rack pole award winner. Got a chance to see all the pole award winners the other night. Some of them with multiple poles. A guy like Aquilante, he's no stranger to a front row start and being on this inside here. This will be an interesting start and to try and hold off Olsen. As you mentioned, Olsen did actually turn some quick laps in the week. Officially, they're about 4/10 apart on their official qualifying times. But Olsen, I expect, is probably going to want to be making a move on Aquilante. Aquilante, though, is an incredible driver when it comes to the skills, the car control, and be able to keep the car even in a slightly off position but still maintain his pace. So we'll see if he can and try and keep Olsen behind him early in this race. So while they roll down through 9 and through 10, and we'll be getting underway with our championship runoffs race here in Touring 1. What a beautiful weekend. It's 75 degrees, clear and sunny. You couldn't ask for a better backdrop. Sonoma Raceway is a home for our 55th running of the National Championship runoffs, and we are extremely excited to bring you our T1 action as that Trans Am brings them down into the turn 11. They will come off of 11. The Trans Am will peel into the inside, and we will see Andrew Aquilante lead this field up the hill through turn 1. And it'll be very interesting. Through the turn 1 is an uphill. It's a bending straightaway, essentially, as they run side by side. We'll wait to see if we get green when they come by for T1 at the runoffs. Beautiful start. We are green. A bit of a head there for Olsen as he had the nose sort of in front, and he is around Aquilante as they go up the hill for the first time. And he is Aquilante. You can see that car control, but he's even in the dirt on the inside, maintaining position. But he is doing everything he can to make sure that Bowden stays behind him. But Olsen right now, Kip Olsen, is going to use that to his advantage to pull a bit of a margin and try and stay out there.
And Larry, we talked about Hayes and that car having very little development. It looks like already a problem for Hayes in the 22 car. So he is off power going up to turn 3.
Yeah, he's got a bit of smoke coming out of there. That's unfortunate for that car. But here I see the number 04 plummeting down in. That is James Candelaria. He's kind of making a move into there, but I'm looking at Kip Olsen now as he's going down through 6, trying to build as much of a margin on Aquilante here early in the race as you can. But as anybody knows, there is no lead safe over Andrew Aquilante.
Yes, but that was a best-case scenario start for Olsen. He got a good, clean launch, used the turbo power in the NSX, and was able to pull a little bit of a gap and kind of squeezed Aquilante right there. So Aquilante lost momentum through 2, and when that momentum break happened for Aquilante, that was when Olsen really was able to make that margin. Yeah,
he really was. But now you're going to see Aquilante. He's kind of being unchallenged there for second. He's going to be just putting his head down and try to make some ground up on Kip Olsen as we see the battle there of Bill Collins and Joe Gaudette there in those Corvettes. But beautiful track here as they come down through 9 and 10. And 10 is really one of those, man's man of corners. As you come into there, it's completely blind in the exit. There's dirt over there if you miss your mark. Unbelievable corner there. As we see them coming off of the hairpin there, Darrell Anderson holding that spot.
Larry, we were talking with Andrew about this car earlier, and he was really concerned about the lack of aero on it. And one of the things that he mentioned was that, Andrew's kind of known as the king of curbs. We watched him in a Mustang earlier today banging across all the curbs. In this car, he has to kind of stay off of the curbs and really just kind of drive with his fingertips because there is a lot of power, but there's not a lot of grip. And so we're going to see how well Andrew can manage these tires through this race as Kip continues to open a bit of a gap, already out to 3-second margin over Aquilante.
Yeah, Andrew is really going to have to be managing this car, but he cannot really hold back that aggression. He will use every inch of these curbs. Not sure that we'll be seeing the dirt on the inside of the curbs, perhaps like he does in his Mustang, but he will be using every square inch. So you can see even there, he's got all the way around the inside of 6, trying to make a run onto Olsen. Olsen, though, right now, even in that first sector, still about 4/10 quicker. So Aquilante is just going to put his head down. Meanwhile, we've got a battle happening in 4th, 5th between Anderson and Stewart. Anderson driving that Mustang, and Stewart, the number 23 car, he's in a BMW, and these two are just going to be nose to tail. As you can see that black Mustang.
Well, we also saw big smoke out of the back of Aqualante's car on the shift. It looked like the 3-4 shift coming down the hill. Just a big poof of smoke out of the back and kind of black, scary. The car is not happy smoke, so we'll keep an eye on that. Olsen purple in the first sector again this lap. Aquilante sets a personal best in the second sector. Interestingly, the trap speeds, Aquilante at 100.8 Olsen at 99.1. One of the things that we saw earlier in the week is that the aero cars get through the trap a little bit better because the trap is actually as part of the turn 10 curve. So the cars that can stay planted all the way through, they're able to maintain a higher trap. Andrew quicker through the trap with the non-aero car right now.
Yeah, but Olsen right now, 141.1 his last time by. He is really almost, I want to say, checking out. But this battle we've got going on here between Anderson and Stewart as they are nose to tail. Very different cars here with the Mustang and the BMW, but when they bring them all together in one class, they run side by side on similar times, similar lines. But that Mustang right now is doing everything he can to keep Stewart behind him as they plummet down the hill into 4. Very challenging track here, Hayward.
It really is, and a lot of these corners are incredibly blind, and even the ones that look like they should be sighted. Example, turn 7, you going up to that, the apex dips away and you actually lose sight of it for a moment. This turn, the carousel, obviously the famous blind turn here at Sonoma Raceway. Anderson is one of our guys up from the West Coast, one of the guys who knows this track very well. He ran at the Runoffs at Laguna Seca a couple years ago, also in T1, qualified 4th there, so he has some experience on this in this program.
Yeah, he does, and that plays a big part in your success at a track like this as we see yet another move happening there for the 86 car of Gaudet, and he's going to be trying to catch all the way into Candelaria there as they run into turn 7. This is where you get into that rhythm, very much slalom-like, trying to hit these apexes of 8 and 8A all the way running down into 9.
Yeah, and you saw there that the Corvette really lost momentum by touching the curb, and when the car got 2 wheels up on the curb, really had to check up, and that's when the black Acura there kind of got a little bit of a gap. But again, as we're going to see throughout this race, the cars that have the big horsepower through the 7, 8, 9, 10 complex really can make that margin and hopefully create a passing opportunity for themselves going into 11.
Yeah, McCall able to kind of hold close to them. As you see right there, Liston going on the defensive, trying to hold Candelaria behind him, giving opportunity there for Gaudet to sort of stay close. Every time the pair in front gets defensive, the third one in the train often was the one that comes out better for it. But a great defensive move there, and that Acura of Leston able to hold that as he rolls up into turn 1.
Yeah, it looked to me like Leston missed his braking mark a little bit for 11. He might have been driving a little bit in the mirrors, but that car clearly makes good power down the straightaway.
Yeah, and now you see actually with Candelaria having to almost now be defensive because he's got Gaudet right behind him. So maybe this is helping Luston. What a battle here between these 4, Luston, Candelaria, Gaudet, and McCall, all within about 1 second. As there's that move going into 4, but clear heads prevail as he's able to back off just a little bit, but that hurts his momentum.
Absolutely.
As now you see Gaudet coming up right behind him.
Yep.
As you run around. They call turn 5. It's really just a bent straightaway, as all the places are here, and then you go plummeting down. So now you got to catch your breath. You've got to shake it off a little bit because the next corner is almost part of the exit of the one you're in.
And again, 2 wheels up on the curb, way up on the curb. It looked like he got pinched a little bit, and when he did, it broke the momentum, and that's what created that gap. And we're seeing that these 2 cars work very differently. The Acura does very well when it can get up into the boost and stay in the boost. Running down the hill here to turn 10 is a great example of that. He had a really strong pull off the front straight last lap, but as soon as we get into the handling portions of the course, you don't expect the Corvette to outhandle the Acura, but that seems to be what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, it does seem to. And as they come down here through these S's, it's interesting to watch both Corvettes trying to make a run, while McCall in that Porsche is just trying to stay close to this pack. They're all kind of within about 2 car lengths between each of the 4 cars. But look at the run as you see Candelaria trying to make a move into 11.
So back to our battle. This is the
Stewart and Anderson battle
for
now.
4th.
Yep, as that BMW Stewart trying to catch him on the inside and get a better line, pressure a little bit on the back of Anderson and try to get that Mustang to perhaps use up its tires. We've talked in other races, and here, let's talk a little bit about this surface, the abrasion, and the work that it puts these tires through to try and last for a full 20 laps.
Well, what's really interesting about it is it's kind of it's not even a double-edged sword. It's like 2 swords at once. The first issue is that there's just not a tremendous amount of grip at the surface. This is not super fresh asphalt, and as a result, the tires slide around a lot. And you would think that a low grip surface would not wear tires out because they're not tearing at the tires like a high grip surface is, but it actually has a secondary effect of as the tire slides, it builds more and more heat. And so you don't actually wear out tires here nearly as much as you get yourself into just a degradation issue because the tires have gotten so hot. And we've seen that in every class, every race. We've seen a lot of people that have changed compounds, try to come at it from other angles, and really the results are generally about the same. There's not a lot of change in going to the harder compounds. So a lot of guys are just running on the Hoosier A's because they're fast at the beginning, everything falls off, so try to get a gap when you can, which, of course, is exactly what our race leader has done.
Yeah, and you mentioned these tires don't necessarily wear out, but they do get overheated a little bit from time to time. And, you know, there's an optimal tire operating temperature for every tire that's out there, and you want to try and use that operating temperature to your advantage. But as soon as you push too hard, you get a little aggressive, especially in these ups and downs and these hills. The car starts to slide. Suddenly you're beyond peak, and if you can back off. Maybe the tires come back a little bit on that temp, but now you put yourself back further behind the spot you're chasing.
This battle we're looking at right here, a really interesting pair of cars. You have the BMW, which is clearly much smaller than the Mustang. The Mustang making more power and a heavier car. So the BMW really is handling well and able to close the gap on Anderson coming up through turn 2. Anderson able to make the speed on the straightaways. This is kind of the classic T1 battle. This is the nimbler, lighter car, the stronger motored, a little bit more slippery car down the straightaway, and it's really interesting to watch how these cars work in different places.
Yeah, and that Mustang of Anderson is definitely working. You can see him sliding it around as here's our leader, Kip Olson. Right now, a 5.5 second margin as he is just virtually checking out at this point. If you're doing that on Andrew Aquilante, you are putting in a fantastic drive.
Yeah, Kip, best we can tell, hasn't put a wheel wrong. The bad news at the runoffs is when you start to build a 5-second lead, the cameras start to find other people to look at, and we don't see you nearly as much. But right now, Kip Olson doing everything right in that beautiful NSX. I'm a big Honda fan, and that is a good-looking Acura there at the front of the field. And you can see Andrew just tippy-toeing out to that curb. A lot of focus. He knows that there are 15 laps left in this race. He knows a lot of things can happen. Turbo cars are not known for being wildly consistent and reliable, and if there's one thing that you can count on with Andrew Aquilante and a Phoenix prepared Corvette, is that car will be there at the end of the race.
Yeah, he is always consistent, always fast. He's using every inch of the pavement and curbing here to try and get it a bit of extra bit of speed off of every corner. But meanwhile, Kip Olson right now in that beautiful driving ambition Acura NSX is just walking the field. He's over 7 seconds ahead. No one even in his league. He's running in the 141s. But you do talk about the temperatures. It's been a reasonable week here. It's been most of the days are in the high 70s. I think it's about where we're at now. So temperature's not normally an issue, but when you do have a mid-engine turbo car that needs to breathe, that needs to get air in there, he's going to have to try and manage that as we get close to the halfway point. That's about where no one's driven in this track this week. Anything beyond about 9-10 laps at a session. The question may be is how fast can that Acura maintain its speed, or does it start to heat soak a little bit and the speed comes down late in the race?
Good shot of Mark Bowden's BMW there heading down through turn 5. All you need to know about Sonoma Raceway is that at most tracks, when you say that a turn isn't really a turn, here we just call them bent straightaways. There are no real straightaways on this track except for a little strip right along the front straightaway, and Bowden there in the BMW making his way up towards turn 7, sitting in a solid 3rd spot at the moment.
Bowden here as we see him going up the straightaway, the only straightaway in the track really, up towards turn 7, and then the battle behind them. It seems to have gotten a little bit of a gap here between Anderson and Stewart. That straightaway in particular, if you've had a chance to get behind the wheel of this track at all this week, what you'll learn is that it's very difficult to pick out braking points anywhere, but especially it seems going into 7 there as the crest of the pavement happens right at that apex. Although it's not blind, the pavement drops off. It's sometimes just hard to judge.
It is. And it looks to me like Anderson has made a little bit of separation on Stewart, maybe starting to catch Bowden. We'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, Anderson looking very good right now. I thought maybe the Mustang's tires might be a little bit too much sliding going on, not saving him, but it appears that that's not the case.
You can really see the braking force here on the Mustang. When he hits the brakes, the tow hook on the front of the car flips right up. There's so much momentum on the car, and then all of a sudden that G-load radically changes, and it gives you kind of a visual idea of the physical impact that this has on the drivers. Doing 20 laps here is no joke. These guys, most of them are wearing cool shirts to keep their bodies cool, but this is definitely a lot of work.
Yeah, as we see the battle there for 14th between Carl Funk and Dennis Mosier there between the Porsche Cayman and that Corvette. These guys are right now running at about 14th, 15th, but they have been right on each other's nose and tail. They're both running on the same 10th, and there you can see the move for Funk trying to get by.
And that's what's so cool about the runoffs, Larry. These guys are running towards the back of the field. In fact, Aquilante is coming up on him right now to work his way through. But they're battling, they're having fun, and you see this in all kinds of classes. And it really speaks to the parity in the rule sets. You have a Porsche and Corvette battle here. You've got a Corvette and Acura battle at the front. You've got a BMW. Porsche chasing a couple of Corvettes in the middle. All these different cars. Everybody finds somebody to race with.
Yeah, and that lap traffic, you always got to make sure that you know which car is which, because in a field like this, where you look in your mirrors, you see a Corvette, got to make sure, oh, that's the black one of Aquilante, got to let him by, but not the orange one there of Dennis Moden.
And these guys, managing it so well. You know, it'd be super easy for them to get caught up in their own battle and create an issue for Andrew, but they let him through nice and easy. So
that has allowed Dennis Moser actually a little bit of a lead now on Carl Fung as they begin to separate. Great pass there, though, that he did make coming into 6th down that downhill section, as now they're going to have Mark Bowden coming up on them in a few moments here. He's currently running 3rd in our race, but he's about 8 seconds behind Aquilante, but he's also about 8 seconds in front of Anderson. So Bowden right now kind of running his own race.
Yeah, and that seems to be where we're at with all 3 of the front runners. Kip Olson right now, his best lap time of 1:41.1. He actually ran a 1:39, one of the disallowed times in practice, but a 1:41 at the moment. Aquilante has done a 1:42.1. So best lap to best lap, Aquilante is about a second off of Olson. Bowden about 7/10 off of Aquilante. But if you look at the laps they're doing now, Olson's on a 1:43.0, Aquilante on a 1:44.7, so about 1.7 second difference right now in lap time, and that is where that now 10-second margin between Olson and Aquilante has come from. So it's 10 seconds from Olson to Aquilante, about 8 more back to Bowden, and then our first real battle for the position is still the Anderson-Stewart battle, which we're looking at right now.
And there we are right there as Stewart has reeled Anderson back in as he's just about 4/10 behind him. It looks closer than that as they come down the hill through 6. What a tough corner that is. And again, you've come around turn 5, around that hillside, and now you've got to find a breaking point as you're cresting a hill. This place is amazing with the way that challenges drivers to be absolutely inch perfect.
And if you watch these 2 cars, you're going to see a big difference in driving style. The Mustang is just a little bit of slip angle all the time. The back end of that car is very, very much moving, very alive. Meanwhile, the BMW is super planted, and so every time he rolls throttle, the car just scoots off the corner. That sliding that we're seeing, that we're talking about, is exactly what we were talking about earlier with the grip issue. Every time that Mustang puts a little bit of slip on those rear tires, they haze up a little bit more, they build a little bit more heat, they start to lose more and more of their grip, and that's why we're seeing the BMW reel them in.
Yeah, Stewart right now clearly is a little bit quicker than Anderson. As you can see them come around 7.
Here's the tow hook.
Yep, there it is bouncing around as it's just dangling in the G's, the negative G's on the braking. But look at the Stewart right up onto his tail. The problem here is I think Anderson's got the horsepower to pull him up through 1. Going to make it very tough to get by if you're Stewart.
It is going to be, but at some point in time, you have to get that horsepower to the ground. And if you don't have the rear tire to get a good launch off the corner, that's where the BMW is going to be able to build the momentum. And we've seen in several races where a car has that issue and is still able to get it done down the straightaway.
Yeah, you can see it transitioning as they come up through 1 and they have to take the car from loaded on the right to loaded on the left. And you can see the Anderson car just make a little extra swing and sway with each one of those movements, where the Stewart BMW is just absolutely planted.
And Stewart has to be looking, I'm assuming that he either has a lap counter or he has crew letting him know that we're coming up on the halfway point of the race. His car looks extremely composed. You have to feel like he has some confidence that if he just waits a little bit longer, he's going to get an opportunity to get around Anderson.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's just kind of, I don't want to say content, but he's certainly going to just bide his time and wait for either Anderson to make a mistake or for his tires to fall off. But if you're Anderson, you just keep pushing is all you can do. And, you know, about halfway through, you can see he's using all the pavement coming out of 6 into 7. He does not want to leave any bit of momentum to chance. And there's these lines. And what you see there is look at the tighter line of that BMW from Stewart as he's just much more under control coming around that corner. And there again is that tail slide using the curves for the exit for Anderson.
Yeah, a lot of energy from that Mustang is being used to move the car side to side when it could be used to go forward. And that's what's keeping the BMW close. You're also seeing a pretty big difference in horsepower as these cars get down the straightaway. And a lot of shimmy and shake on the wing on the back of that BMW. So I'm not sure if something isn't quite mounted as it should have been, or if there's some damage. But that wing seems to all of a sudden start to pick up a vibration.
That is a lot. I wonder if some of that's just following that turbulent air, though, also behind Anderson, as his wing is just trying to find its own level. Interestingly, here is Daryl Anderson there in the Hoosier AV8 Supercars Mustang. He's from Petaluma, California, where Hugh Stewart in the high-speed motorsports BMW, he's from Milford, Connecticut, one of the longer hauls out here. So here you've got home turf being defended against the out-of-towner from Milford, Connecticut. this is always an interesting story here this week.
And you got to think that Stewart is learning as he goes. Every lap, he's getting a little bit more information about this track. He may be finding things, kind of unlocking secrets as he goes. And so that's another reason to kind of hold tight as he's in that position. Of course, the other big reason not to pass Anderson now, that's just going to give Anderson a chance to pass back. He might be waiting to make sure he takes the last opportunity, so there's no opportunity for a redemption.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to be picked off in the next lap. You might sit back and wait for your opportunity later. And here you're learning. You're learning where Anderson is fast, learning where Anderson's not. You're learning his favorite lines, and you're going to pick out your spot later in the race. The other thing to think about is this is a 20-lap race. There's always attrition. You never know what can happen in front of them. These guys might actually be fighting for the final podium spot, sitting here battling, looks like for fourth. That's only one spot. All it takes for something in front of them to happen, and this could be for medals.
Indeed, and again, down through the downhill S's, Anderson 2 wheels in the dirt, the car bouncing around. Yeah. Meanwhile, Stewart, nice and composed. It's a study right now in 2 different approaches towards this racetrack. And the guy who's comfortable here, the guy who's got a bunch of laps here, is the one that's hanging it out a little bit. The guy who's learning it, watching, learning, calculating, and looking for his opportunity.
Yeah, I tell you, seeing a black Mustang go around this place and using dirt and using next to the curbs looks a little bit like how Aquilante drove his Mustang in the race earlier today. And but again, the experience you talk about, knowing you can get away with that kind of stuff, it really helps to understand that. Here's Kip Olson, our leader, and he right now is still lapping in the 143s. His quickest was a 141, but no one else even close to him right now. He's got about almost 13-second advantage. And again, this car just looks so smooth out there.
Yeah, Kip has the fastest lap time in the race. He has the fastest time in every sector. The only thing that he does not have right now is the fastest trap speed. That goes to Bowden in the BMW, which makes sense. That BMW would handle very well through turn 10. And again, that speed trap is in a bit of a corner. But Kip right now is just having a heck of a track day. He's got clear track in front of him, clear track behind him. A little bit of smoke on the shift. We've seen that from Aquilante as well. So both of our lead cars right now, a little bit of smoke on the shift coming out of turn 7.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, the cars function like a well-oiled machine. Sometimes it uses a little bit of the oil when it does make those kind of high rev shifts. You see him, he does look just inch perfect. Not needing to use the curbs there, just kind of rub the tire on the oil line. But meanwhile, Aquilante, at this point, probably thinking, let's at least make sure I secure this silver spot, as he's going to probably be about the same point. Just make sure the car makes it home. He did in these, I believe it was his GT2 race that he ran in his Mustang. The car had a bit of an issue. In this spot, he's going to make sure he at least brings home the silver medal.
Andrew driving out of the Phoenix shop. He's kind of the lead driver, the engineer of that shop. A wonderful team effort, amazing group from Phoenix. They are very big on communication during the race. They are always talking to their drivers, and I guarantee you what they're looking for right now is they're looking for Olson's pace to change. They're probably telling Andrew to hold station to be ready, and if Olson's pace, and save the car, conserve the finish. But if Olson's pace starts to change, you're going to see Andrew turn it up a little bit and see if he can run him down.
Yeah, he'll go into full-on attack mode if there's any sort of chink in the armor of Kip Olson that we might see. And you're right, there's full radio contact. That Phoenix team is a strong supporter. They're big into club racing. They've got a whole slew of cars just down the corner here from our point of attack here. There's got to be about 18 cars here in the field that Phoenix and the related partner teams are all a part of. It's a great outfit. I think what it does, it raises the game of club racing. These guys are great. They've got a lot of variety of drivers, multiple cars, multiple classes, and it really is kind of the pinnacle of what you can do in club racing.
Well, they also create a tremendous amount of access into the sport. A lot of their cars are rentals or customer cars. Folks who maybe have the funding to go road racing but don't necessarily have the time, you can pair up with a shop like Fall Line or Phoenix and really get a high quality car that you can more or less arrive at the track, put on the suit, put on the helmet, jump in the car and drive. And that's why you see so many of those cars there, is because they're providing a great support service to those racers.
Yeah, we haven't talked much about Mark Bowden. Again, he's another one, as Olson, Aquilante, and Bowden just kind of all running their own race at this point in that Fall Line Motorsports BMW. Mark Bowden is just running very consistent laps. He's pretty much solid right in the mid-145s. Again, not putting an inch off. Experienced driver, wants to make sure he brings that home. But the battle behind them, as we see it coming down through 8A, and again, there's that twitchy Mustang of Anderson with Hugh Stewart in that BMW trying to do anything he can to pressure Darrell Anderson into any kind of a mistake or pressure him into using up his tires. And there's that difference in that trap speed, too, with the BMW really able to carry through 10.
And we're down to 7 laps to go, so if Stewart is going to make a move, we're starting to run out of opportunities. So I think we're going to see him start to turn the wick up just a little bit more. Not that any of these guys are leaving anything on the table, but if Stewart is in a conservation mode, he's going to need to make his move soon.
Yeah, I think really his best spots, if he can get a run out of 6 and stay in the draft, perhaps 7. But the other place is that trap speed, which is coming through 10. He's very quick. Maybe he's going to set him up going into 11 with a couple of laps to go.
He also seems to peak every time he comes into turn 2. Right as he comes up the hill, he'll take a slightly narrower line. It may just be the line he prefers. He may just try to be in Anderson's mirrors as much as he can possibly be. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him try something somewhere unconventional just because he's relying on grip. Just like what you just saw there, Anderson putting 2 wheels off. If the best place to pass here is the corner right after the guy in front of you made a mistake.
Well, yeah, we've seen that actually a couple times out of Darrell Anderson in that Mustang do a little twitch as he comes over the crest of 3A. I'm sure Hugh Stewart has not missed that on his own observations. I have seen a couple of passes in this race historically where you can get somebody in this shot here. This is that downhill into 4 coming out of 3A. Maybe there's a spot if you're Hugh Stewart. If you can stay close to him coming up the hill into 2, through the little ups and downs of 3, maybe there's a shot there as well coming into 4. All right, so with that, we've got a bit of an update from our very own Tomo. What do you got for us?
Yeah, guys, I just took a moment to walk down towards the exit of turn 11 while I had the chance, and you can hear audibly that these rear-wheel drive cars with this much power are really scrabbling for grip there. They're wanting to go to throttle. They try a couple times, and then they can finally pull off the corner. One thing we didn't talk about really is the layout of these cars so much as the prep level. That leading NSX mid-engine, it's going to be able to get the power down in some of these corners as this grip is not that great. Stopped by the Driving Ambitions tent while I was on my way down. They said everything's great so far.
Yeah, Kip Olson just looking absolutely inch perfect. You're right, though, coming out of 11, if you can get that power down and get that long run up through 1 into 2, it's going to pay big dividends. And that's where it's interesting. You talk about the big V8 power. Perhaps that Mustang of Anderson is struggling there, as we've got, looks like a pass here. And as Candelaria trying to defend on McCall in the Porsche. McCall on the inside. He is right on those curbs, going to use the tight line. But here possibly comes that torque in the Corvette. Candelaria, yes, using that torque, was able to hold the outside line. McCall not having the torque there in the Porsche Cayman.
Super classy driving for both those drivers, gave each other lots of room. You can see both of them on the corner, cars slipping and doing everything they could to keep off the wall and off of each other. This is a great drive and a great battle, and I think this really speaks to what we've been talking about the whole race. Candelaria with rear drive, front engine, not a lot of weight over those rear tires. The back end tends to move around a little bit. Meanwhile, the Porsche right behind him, McCall, he's got the weight of the motor right over those rear tires. That helps plant the back of the car, and oh yeah, there's that big wing on the back of it too. So as I say that, the Porsche slides 2 or 4 off into the dirt. He's going to give up a position.
Yeah, he does, and probably being a bit aggressive there, and now you lose that spot.
Oh, we've got a big off. It's Stewart.
It is Stewart. So in that battle with Anderson, he is out. He's off. Looks like I want to say that's probably coming out of 8, as I think that's up against that wall on the driver's right side.
Yeah, he's moving around the car. Here we're going to get a replay of it.
So it's coming out of 7, and you see in front, he just loses it. He's by himself. Gets a little bit, maybe he was too far inside.
I wonder if something let go, Larry. He has been so composed this entire race, it doesn't make any sense to me that he would have an issue throttle on oversteer that severe unless a tire was going down or maybe he had something in the rear suspension let go. But he's still in the car. It looks like he's going to try to continue. But I guarantee his front tires have a disagreement on which way the steering wheel's pointed.
Yeah, I have a feeling he may just be better off to go ahead and sit tight with 5 laps to go. Very unfortunate for Stewart. He's really putting on a good show there. Had a lot of shots there with Anderson with 5 laps to go. Who knows? So a tough way to end his runoffs as the emergency crew gets on scene there. We did see in other races perhaps they may just sit tight to a local yellow. And you watch him as he comes down.
So in corner entry, he misses big. He gets way out into the marbles. Maybe he picked something up on the tire, but that's a pretty fast snap right there. It just snaps on him. Yeah, I think something must have broke on that car because it was not a long, linear slide that ended up in coming around. It was as close to an on-throttle snap spin as you can get.
Yeah, and something certainly may have happened under braking, as you mentioned, as the car just shot very deep, very unusual for him. The whole race he had been so inch perfect. Very unfortunate to have that there. Leaving Anderson now with a big margin. Now he's kind of like relaxing back to his own race. So the battle now really does turn to that 4-car Candelaria as he's got McCall back behind him. McCall gets around Gaudette. We saw McCall a few laps ago or a lap or 2 ago where he had gone off in the dirt at that very corner. He's gotten back around Gaudette, and he's going to try and make another run on Candelaria and try to bring that Cayman. Maybe, again, that mid-engine be able to to get the power coming off of these corners and try and catch that big American V8 C5 Corvette in front of him.
Yep, it takes a few corners to get those tires back to clean after a big off like that, and so he's probably just now getting a car that he feels like he can trust again. 4 laps to go. That is not a lot of time to run down a car as quick as that C5 Corvette is.
Yeah, Candelaria has been very consistent this race. As McCall was putting pressure on before, Candelaria just kept holding his line. Candelaria with 4 to go. He's going to really have to hustle as he's a couple of seconds back, about 2 seconds or so. And you got to get back on his bumper. Now, we did see early he did try a move on 11, and maybe he's thinking if he can get to that spot, come into 11 again, maybe he can make it stick with that mid-engine powertrain to be able to put the power down. You do learn when you do that one time during a race. Maybe it'll work again. But he's got to get it back. It looks like he's gaining very quickly as he's trying to set up for a nice late apex here coming off of 11. He's definitely closed that gap extremely quickly. As you see them come off a 12, pass, start, finish. And there's the power of the Corvette kind of pulling away a little bit. So if you're McCall, you want to get in front of him and hopefully keep him on your bumper before he starts pulling away to the straightaway towards that start-finish flag.
Now, Larry, we've got a little bit of a development up front. I don't think I don't know where it's going to go, obviously. 4 laps to go. Olson's last lap was a 1:47. Aquilante was 2 seconds faster last lap than Olson. That could be that Olson checked up when he saw the incident, that he's taking it nice and easy through 7 to make sure that he doesn't create a safety issue for the crew that's out. But right now, Aquilante's pace has been very consistent. His best lap was 1:42, but he's been in 1:44s and 1:45s for a while now. Olson a little bit off. The car looks okay.
Looks like he's back on it there, and I think you may be right about that. Want to be a little cautious around the crew, taking the car back. May have even gotten a signal from his team telling him how it happened, perhaps worried that maybe there's some fluids down to that track. So there's a chance you've got a 10-second lead. Be conservative, bring the car home, but he's right back into it down to the 44s the next time by.
It could have just been the super deep breath he took when he thought maybe we'd go full course caution.
Yeah, that is not what he wants right now. I'm sure Aquilante was licking his chops at the thought of maybe a caution, but great work by our crews to get that car out of the way. And without really interrupting the flow of this incredible race here with Olson on just such a rhythm right now, holding that 10-second lead. And you can just see that car is just beautiful with its light shining at us coming out of 6. And he's still picking up dirt coming out of 6. He's just hitting his marks at this point.
You know, I got a chance to talk to Kip earlier in the week, and he kind of just struck me as a almost golden retriever, like happy-go-lucky kind of guy that just likes to have fun with the car. And I expect that he is going to have a pretty big grin on his face right now.
I suspect he will. And Aquilante behind him, I don't want to say frustrated, as he's been kind of just trying to keep Olson in his view. You can see as he's coming down to the S's, Olson is all the way down almost into 10 at that point.
Well, I can guarantee you Andrew's not happy. Andrew's a true competitor. He is the kind of guy that just eats, sleeps, lives road racing. This is what he loves to do. It's what he does for a living. I asked his dad, Joe, what are the Aquilante a big moment there for Andrew going into 10. It looked like
very unusual, actually, for Aquilante. He's usually very composed. The car usually slides around a lot, but it's always an under-control sort of slide. That did not appear to be.
Yeah, that was definitely a bobble, and as you mentioned, that is very uncharacteristic of Andrew. But, I mean, he's not here to see if he can get on the podium. Andrew is here to take a championship, and usually he's hit the runoffs to try to take a couple of championships. The fact that he has 8 and 11 years really speaks to how seriously he takes this type of racing, and he does absolutely have fun at these events, but that is not a happy Andrew Aquilante in that car right now.
No, I'm sure it's not. But here's this battle again as these 3 are now nose to tail of Candelaria, McCall, and Gaudet. These 2 Corvettes sort of sandwiching McCall. The meat and the sandwich there in the Porsche Cayman in that beautiful Pennzoil Porsche. And there you see the different types of cars. We've got the non-aero, the C5 Corvettes, and a little bit of aero there on that Cayman between them. They do behave differently in here. And you can see now that maybe is down this section through into turn 10. This may be working in McCall's favor. Probably a little lighter than the Corvette.
Yeah, Candelaria had a very strange line out of 7, and now you see McCall go into the inside. But Candelaria really rounded that corner. You can see him checking the side mirror as he comes into 11, making sure he knows exactly where McCall is before he cuts down for the Apex.
Great defensive line there for him. Not blocking, but he came out of 10, took a set line, never changed, but he knew that he needed to be on the inside because about 3 laps ago, we saw McCall dive down inside. They were side by side. I'm thinking that Candelaria doesn't want to let that happen again.
I think he's being very protective right now. I mean, every position at the runoffs is an important position. He wants to hold on to this one, and McCall would love to make a last lap pass to move himself up in the field.
Yeah, and Candelaria also looks like he knows where his advantage is, and that's corner exit of the tight corner. So if he can just hold the entry, he can pull on him with the extra torque and that American Muscle V8 over that Cayman. But if he lets him get just a glimpse down inside, it could be lost of position. So here we go. White flag is out for Kip Olson. Again, turning in the 140s. This is a 145. He has just owned this race start to finish as he really has been the fastest thing around. He's got quickest sectors all around. Kip Olson is putting on quite a display here in this Acura NSX.
And it has to be satisfying to have this kind of a drive on your home track. This is where he runs the most. He knows this place inside and out. And that's always a runoff story, but it's a particularly meaningful runoff story when it's on the West Coast. Only able to get the event out here twice now since the 60s, and having the event come to your backyard and being able to show your case, your driving, your car, your preparation has to be a really rewarding experience for him.
Sure, and defending home turf where the folks like the Phoenix Racing outfit coming in from the East Coast, Andrew Aquilante, a great drive for him. It looks like he's going to end up going home with that silver. But if you're Kip Olson, to be fast every session all weekend long and to hold that behind you, it's very satisfying if you are Kip Olson. So while we are on our last lap, we've got still this battle. As this battle between Candelaria, McCall, and Gaudet. McCall had a bit of a moment there in the middle of 7. It got the car a little sideways, lost his momentum. Now he's got just 1 lap to try and gather this back and make one more attempt here. The battle may only be for 7th, but I can tell you it is no less important to these 3 gentlemen right here.
Well, Candelaria is a guy who started out doing track days a couple years ago and found his way to Phoenix Performance to get onto a racetrack, and here we have our leader coming to 11.
Yeah, that beautiful red Acura NSX, that driving ambition. Kip Olson out of Shingle Springs, California, the San Francisco region. He has been just inch perfect in this race, led from start to finish. It hasn't even been a question. It's almost a bit of domination. So Kip Olson, your champion in T1 at the runoffs.
Flag to flag.
Absolutely dominant, and dominant over someone like Andrew Aquilante. Speaks volumes of the drive here for Kip Olson. Andrew Aquilante going to bring it home in 2nd in that Phoenix Hoosier and Hawk Chevy Corvette, and in 3rd spot.
We're waiting on 3rd.
We are, as it was running Mark Bowden.
It looks like Bowden has had an issue.
We did not catch that earlier. Bowden has had an issue, so it looks like we mentioned earlier about Anderson was in that battle for 3rd. Anderson looks like he's going to pick that up. As we're looking at Liston, may have also gotten Ryan Anderson, so this has gotten a little bit crazy here at the finish. So we'll get you the update here in a second. A bit of shuffling on this final lap, as Anderson looks like he may have taken that 3rd. Yes, he does. So Anderson, we talked earlier about that battle for 4th, may actually come to him as a podium, and it does. And here's this battle. Now it's turning into the battle for 6th, I believe this should be, is Candelaria, McCall, and Gaudet. And Candelaria able to hold on to that as he comes around the hairpin of 11 up towards 12 to take that checker. What a great drive by these 3, and putting on really a display of what club racing can be at its highest level. So there we've got our winner, Kip Olson, and that Acura NSX is leading flag to flag, green to checker. What a great race for him. Not the excitement between the top 3, but I tell you, no less exciting if you're Kip Olson to take the victory on your home track.
Well, Larry, there's really no such thing as an easy win. A big win happens because of big preparation and big skill, and Kip Olson did a lot of hard work to put that car out front. Andrew Aquilante, 2nd spot for him, another runoffs podium. I don't know that Andrew's ever finished anywhere but the podium and off the track, so really showing his skill and talent. And you get a really good look at that Acura there, and some of the differences that Tomo mentioned at the beginning between it and the Corvette really gave that car an opportunity, gave Kip an opportunity to really do well, and he absolutely capitalized on it.
He sure did, and piloting this thing. He started on the outside of row 1, but jumped right to the lead in the first corner and never looked back. Olson just had nothing but daylight in his mirrors even this whole race. What a great drive for Kip Olson. And then coming home 2nd, Andrew Aquilante, and in 3rd, it looks like it's Daryl Anderson in that Hoosier AV8 Supercars Ford Mustang. And you can see that beautiful red Acura NSX coming down there on the pit road. And this could be one happy driver as he gets his gold medal. He gets his all in the hat. He'll be getting the words here from Tomo in just a moment as we can get our driver's got to get his gloves off, and he looks like one very happy man inside of there. So he gets a little bit of help getting his helmet off. Never easy. You've been out there, even in a race where it looked easy. Trust me, it's not. You get tired, you get sort of worn out, and it's just a matter of going, oh, yeah, where are the snaps to get the Hans off? Where do I get my gloves off? And
yeah, these guys aren't used to taking the helmet off in the car. It's always, as having done a lot of pit reporting, that's always the challenge is they're trying to figure out how to get the helmet off. And oh, by the way, their hands are shaking, and oh, by the way, everyone wants to talk to them, and oh, by the way, they just won the runoffs, but can you get your helmet off?
Yeah, priorities here. So you can see him kind of loosen things up. Tomo is going to be standing there at the ready, and we're going to have a few words from our winner here in T1, Kip Olson, as he's oh, yeah, there's a strap.
Oh, yeah, there's a chin strap, too.
Yeah.
I should do that.
Yeah, I got to undo the Hans, got to get the gloves. This is definitely not easy. And these days, with the safety equipment in the seats, you are just packed in there like a sardine as he's trying to work that out. But, all right, so with that, let's see if we can get a word from Kip Olson from Tomo. What have you got?
Yeah, Kip, it wasn't your first runoffs, but it's your first runoffs win, and it came at your home track. Now tell us, what did you just say as soon as you parked here?
I love you, Jody. That's my wife, my best friend, my biggest supporter, the reason I can do all this stuff. Without her support, it doesn't work.
I'll give you a second, guys. He said that was the most fun I've ever had. Now, the execution of that race was as pretty as this car. How'd it go?
Oh, you know, it was pretty awesome. You know, Shad Huntley with Driving Ambition sets me up with the coolest, neatest, most unique, best genetic car in the world as far as I'm concerned. That's him right there behind you, by the way. Anybody with a Honda, or any car for that matter, that wants to go real fast should use him. The Hoosier tires screaming at me towards the end of the race, but everyone was in that same boat. It was the most fun I've ever had behind the wheel. It was just fantastic. We worked at this for so darn long, and I took a reprieve to do some things with my wife for several years. To come back and do it this way, it just doesn't get any better. Life is good.
Life is good, guys. Well, congratulations, Kip. You go enjoy your extra lap and that gold medal.
Larry, we do need to mention the Driving Ambition shop. We talked a lot about the prep shops in this race, but Kip's car absolutely brilliantly prepared for this. Here's our order.
Yeah, there you go. You've got your winner on top there, Kip Olson. What a drive for him. Andrew Aquilante bringing that Corvette home into a silver medal. And then Daryl Anderson had that battle early on, able to maintain position and gets himself up into that third step of the podium there for the bronze. And what a great drive by him as well to keep that Mustang under him for that entire race.
You never know what position you're racing for at the runoffs until it's over.
Yeah, you really don't, as it is tough. You know, you see battles, you think you're in fourth and fifth, but attrition does play a part. These are very long races, 20 laps, and you just never know how it can work out. But what we have is we got Tomo down there on the grid with our finishers, Andrew Aquilante and Daryl Anderson. So, Tomo, who have you got?
Yeah, we're here with Andrew Aquilante. Still a bit of a smile. Not the race you were looking for. We called you the Goliath at the beginning of the race, but we know you felt a little bit more like the David. But it was clear from watching you gave it all it had.
Yeah, we did. I guess what I would say is let me thank all of our crew, Kurt and Jason. We had a clutch issue, and they put it back together. Mark, my mom back at home, got us parts shipped out. Adrian, a good friend of ours who was racing in T1, loaned us a used clutch. And also, let me just say thank you to all the people, all the SCCA officials, workers who come out and let us do what we do. I've learned a lot this weekend about certain parts of the SCCA that I didn't know about before, and here we are. So we'll see.
Well, congratulations on that second place finish. You guys enjoy that. We're going to step down here to Daryl Anderson. Now, Daryl, I don't know that you quite expected to be standing here about midway through that race. You had to hold off that BMW for a long time, but here we are.
Yeah, Mr. Hughes put on a good race, man. That was it was a hell of a race. Great time. We were skating, I think, from lap 5 till he finally spun behind me. There was just no traction. So, yeah, great race. I got to give it a hand to Hugh for fantastic time.
Awesome. Anybody you need to thank to get you here?
Oh, absolutely. Hoosier Tire #1, Trent, my mechanic from AV8 Supercars, my wife and kids for allowing me to do this and supporting me, and to all the SCCA workers and volunteers.
Well, there you go, the podium for T1.
Thank you, Tomo. And I tell you hear those podium finishers thanking the two most important parties when it comes to being running club racing. That is your wife and the workers. None of this happens without any of those. As really what an exciting race. A lot all over the race, but you saw Kip Olson and Ray at this point as he turned into that first corner. It looked like a bobble from Andrew. It really didn't matter as Kip was just going to go and go and go. And at that point, Andrew was just along to try and manage. And but we did have battles along the way. Candelaria put up a great fight a couple of times with different competitors. And then you had, of course, this battle here. Hugh Stewart, unfortunately, unable to keep the car behind him. We believe maybe something had happened to the car and lost that back end. But what it meant was a great podium from Kip Olson, Andrew Aquilante, Daryl Anderson. Just a great race, Hayward. Unbelievable finish here at the Runoffs.
Yeah, Larry, and both those guys mentioning those SCCA officials, of course, all of these cars do have post-race inspection, more SCCA involvement there, so they'll roll over to the tech shed, go across the scales, everything will get measured, and we will stamp these results official hopefully soon this afternoon. So big congratulations to Kip for the win on track, and we will kick it back.
Yeah, thank you, Hayward, and thanks down on the pits to Tom O'Gorman. And for both of them, I'm Larry McLeod. I appreciate everybody. We are going to go ahead and close out this race and thank Mazda for their support here on this presentation of the 55th Annual SCCA Championship Runoffs.